Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. All right, so yesterday we reviewed comparing and ordering decimals. We did an assignment on adding and subtracting decimals, which some of us had difficulty on. So I'll be talking with some of you about that. Today we're going to talk about rounding. And you're going to do a short 4 or 5 questions on rounding and 4 or 5 questions on adding and subtracting money. Anybody want to guess which one the class is doing the worst on? Which one?
Subtracting.
Adding and subtracting money, which is...
It's basically just...
It's because we're not reading correctly.
Yep.
So let's use that as a warning to you guys. Read the words. The words are important. But now on to rounding. If we start with rounding to the nearest whole number, what place value is the nearest whole number in?
1.
Anyone?
One.
Ones place. Good. So if it asks you to round to the nearest whole number, you round to the ones place. So, for example, if I had 39 and 87 hundredths, what number is in the ones place?
The 9.
The 9. The 9 is the number we're either going to add 1 or 0 to. We don't know until we look at the number behind it. The number behind it is greater than 4.
Yeah.
Which means we do what to the 9? Add 1. And again, I want to see the adding of 1. Because if you just say, oh, I'm going to make this to a 10, you'll put a 0 and a 3. And that not rounding it correctly. If you add the 1, when you're adding and subtracting decimals, obviously the decimal point comes straight down. If we do 9 plus 1, we get 10. So I have 10 ones, or 1 10 and 0 ones. And so if I round that to the nearest whole number, it rounds to 40. Because when I added 1, I had to regroup. Let's look at another one that we round to the nearest whole number. 576 and 298 thousandths. What is in the ones place?
6.
The 6. So I'm either going to add 1 or I'm going to add 0 to the 6. So I look behind it. Behind it is a 2. So do I add 1 or do I add 0 to the...
0.
I add 0. So that's still says... Now, everything behind what I've underlined is a 0.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing is people still bringing that stuff down. And I could just leave it as 576. I could leave it as 576.0. I could leave it as 576.00. I could leave it as 576.000. The key is, behind the number you either add 1 or add 0 to, there should be no other numbers besides 0 behind it. Since 576 is a whole number, what you'd probably just write is 576. That's what Jaden told me anyway. And Jaden knows. I didn't say Jaden's nose. I said Jaden knows.
He knows.
Jaden's nose would be like right here on his face.
Mm-hmm.
But Jaden knows is different. Let's round to the nearest 10th. You've done nearest 10th. You've done nearest whole number. So again, if you've been to school before this year, if you've been to school before you've been in Mr. McMurdo's math class, you have rounded to the nearest whole number. You've rounded to the nearest 10th. But let's do a quick review. Eli, give me a 2-digit number.
56.
All right. Whit, give me a 3-digit number.
172.
All right. So we're going to round this to the nearest 10th. We have 56 and 172 thousandths. And Ava, what is in the 10ths place?
6. No.
10th place. A 1. So our 1's in the 10th place. So now we need to decide whether we're adding 1 to the 1 or adding 0 to the 1. We do that by looking behind it And so DJ's arm doesn't fall off. DJ, are you going to add 1 or 0?
You're gonna add 1
I'm going to add 1. Why?
because 7 is greater than 5.
Good. 7 is 5 or greater. Good. I'm going to add 1, so that's a 2, 6, 5. I can leave it 56 and 2/10. I can make it 56 and 20 hundredths. I can make it 56 and 200 thousandths. I just can't put anything but zeros back here behind it. I'm just saying. Oh, Kara, give me a 2-digit number.
82.
82. And Leon, give me a 3-digit number. That certainly is not the hardest question you'll have to do. 322. All right, again, rounding to the nearest 10th. The 3 is in the 10th place. We look behind it. Maddie D, what am I going to add to the 3? 1 or 0?
0.
I'm going to add 0. And so that's 3, 2, 8. I can have it 82 and 3/10. I can have it 82 and 30 hundredths. I can have it 82 and 300 thousandths. But normally, if there's zeros on the end, you're just going to leave it as 82 and 3/10. So both of those things are reviewed. The one thing that I am responsible for you to know is the nearest hundredth. Now this is way the same as what you've done in the past, except for the fact that you're rounding to the 100th instead of the 10th. So Mr. McMurdo, pick a 3-digit number. Okay, 376. And Mr. McMurdo, pick another 3-digit number. 278. 376 and 278 thousandths. Thank you, Mr. McMurdo. Good, then I ask myself, what is in the hundredths place? Because we're rounding to the nearest hundredth, so we have to look in the hundredths place. Well, boom, this 7's in the hundredths place. Hundredths place. So that's the number I'm either going to add 1 or I'm going to add 0 to. But I don't know which yet until I look behind it. Behind it, Joe Michael, I have an 8. So do I add 1 or 0 to the 7?
1.
I add 1 because the number behind it is greater than 4. So then I have 8, I have 2. When I'm adding and subtracting with decimal numbers, I just move the decimal point straight down. And then a 6, and then a 7, and then a 3. So that is it. I can put 280 thousandths, or I can just leave it at 28 hundredths. So again, this was way the same as what you did for the other roundings. I want to see the adding the 1 and the 0 though. I know in the past they'd say, if it's bigger, move it up. Or what was the saying y'all used before?
If 5 or higher, round up. 4 or less, let it rest.
Okay. All right. So rounding up's kind of deceiving. If you get like a 9, you need to round it up. Then I get all cattywampus answers. So I'd like to see the adding the 1 or adding the 0. Because that's how you round up. But if you've got something that you have to regroup over, then that'll cause issues. I'm just saying. No need to argue with me, okay?
I don't want to call this issues.
Boom! Chocolate, peace out. God bless. Love you. Do something kind today. Subscribe.